I never imagined I'd be escorted out of a company I was about to buy. But there I was, standing in that gleaming marble lobby, watching a receptionist call security on me, simply because I didn't look like her idea of a CEO. 5 minutes later, her career would be over. The morning sun streams through the glass facade of Westbridge Enterprises as I push through the revolving doors. The lobby gleams with wealth, polished floors reflecting light from crystal chandeliers overhead. The air smells of expensive cologne and fresh coffee. I adjust my charcoal suit jacket and walk confidently toward the reception desk, my leather briefcase swinging gently at my side. Behind the sleek, white counter sits Lauren Stokes. Her blonde hair is pulled into a tight bun, red-painted nails tapping impatiently on her keyboard. She doesn't look up as I approach. "Good morning," I say, my voice warm but professional. "I have a 9:30 meeting with Eric Langston." Lauren glances up, her eyes scanning me quickly. I see the immediate calculation in her gaze, a split-second judgment. Her painted lips press into a thin line. "Your name?" she asks, voice clipped. "Marcus Whitaker." Her fingers move lazily across her keyboard. I don't see any appointment for a Marcus Whitaker. It should be there. The meeting concerns Innovate Capital and Westbridge Enterprises. I keep my tone even, though I notice her eyes narrowing. "Innovate Capital," she frowns. "Oh, that meeting. But that's with their CEO." She emphasizes the last word, looking me up and down again. The implication hangs in the air. I couldn't possibly be who I claim that I feel a familiar heat rising in my chest. Not anger, not yet, just that old, tired recognition. I've been here before, countless times. "Yes, I'm Marcus Whitaker, CEO of Innovate Capital." I reach for my wallet to show ID, but Lauren is already shaking her head. "I'm sorry, but the CEO's office has strict protocols. Mr. Langston's expecting an important investor today. Perhaps you're confused about the date." Her voice drips with condescension. Two employees at nearby couches glance over, then quickly away. The volume of Lauren's voice has risen deliberately. She wants others to hear, to validate her authority. "There's no confusion," I say. "If you could just call up to Eric's office." "Sir," she interrupts, standing now. "The delivery entrance is around back. If you have something to drop off, you'll need to go there." The assumption stings like a slap. In her mind, I couldn't possibly be an executive. I must be delivery staff. Despite my tailored suit, my briefcase, my calm demeanor, I'm not making a delivery, I say, keeping my voice steady though my pulse quickens. "I'm here for the acquisition meeting." Lauren's smile grows cold. "Listen, we're very busy today. Important meetings happening. You can't just walk in claiming to be someone you're not." A security guard shifts uncomfortably nearby, moving closer at Lauren's meaningful glance. He's middle-aged with kind eyes that don't match his uniform. He knows something's wrong with this picture. "Is there a problem here?" he asks, addressing both of us. Lauren jumps in before I can speak. "This gentleman claims he has a meeting with Mr. Langston, but he's not on the calendar." She drops her voice, but not enough. I think he's confused. The security guard looks at me sympathetically. "Sir, maybe we can clear this up. Do you have any credentials?" I reach into my jacket again, but Lauren interrupts. "We don't have time for this. Our investors arrive in 20 minutes. Her voice rises again. "Please escort him out." The lobby falls silent. Several more employees have gathered, pretending to check phones while watching the scene unfold. My humiliation is now a public spectacle. The guard hesitates. "Ma'am, are you sure?" "Now, please." Lauren snaps that my fingers curl around the leather of my briefcase. This moment, this exact moment, is what Nina warned me about. The real culture of Westbridge Enterprises revealing itself in real time. "Before you remove me," I say, my voice cutting through the tension, "you might want to consider who you're throwing out of your building." Lauren rolls her eyes. "Sir, I don't care who you think you are. You're disturbing our workplace." The elevator chimes. The doors slide open. Every head turns as Eric Langston himself steps out, checking his watch, oblivious to the drama unfolding. In his lobby, this is the moment. 5 minutes after walking through those doors, everything is about to change. If you've ever been judged by your appearance instead of your abilities, hit that subscribe button. This story of power and prejudice might be exactly what you need to hear today. Eric Langston freezes mid-step when he spots the commotion in his lobby. His eyes dart between Lauren, the security guard, and me. For a moment, confusion clouds his face. Is everything all right here? He asks, approaching cautiously. That Lauren's demeanor instantly transforms. Her voice softens as she addresses her boss. Mr. Langston, this gentleman claims he has an appointment with you, but he's not on the schedule. I was just having security escort him out. Eric turns to me, extending his hand automatically. I'm Eric Langston, CEO of Westbridge. And you are? The irony is perfect. He doesn't recognize me either. Before I answer, let me take you back. My path to this moment began long before I walked through those glass doors. 20 years earlier. I sat in a cramped university computer lab, the blue glow of monitors illuminating determined faces. While other students packed up at midnight, I remained, fingers flying across keyboards, building programs that would eventually reshape industries. That I graduated top of my class in computer engineering. My resume, immaculate. My interviews, flawless. Yet at job after job, I watched white classmates with lower GPAs receive offers I was denied. We're looking for someone who's a better culture fit, recruiters would say, their eyes sliding away from mine. When I finally landed at Technova as a junior developer, my manager Keith assigned me the grunt work while promoting my colleagues. 6 months in, the company hosted a hackathon. My solution outperformed everyone's. The CTO himself asked who created it. That's Marcus's work, Keith admitted reluctantly. The CTO looked surprised. I'd like to speak with Marcus directly next time. After that, things changed. I advanced quickly, once people actually saw my work before seeing me. 5 years later, I was leading development teams. 10 years in, I became CTO at a mid-sized tech company. I learned to navigate boardrooms where I was often the only black face, to speak with precision and confidence that left no room for doubt. The day I secured my first $1 million investment for my own startup was the day I stopped apologizing for taking up space. 3 successful exits later, I founded Innovate Capital, a venture firm dedicated to funding underrepresented founders with world-changing ideas. Now, at 45, I stood in Westbridge's lobby, about to acquire a company valued at $220 million, only to be mistaken for delivery staff. Some things never change, but how I respond to them has. I'm Marcus Whitaker, I tell Eric, watching recognition dawn slowly on his face. Marcus Whitaker of Innovate Capital. Eric's voice rises an octave. The same. Lauren's face drains of color as she realizes her mistake. The security guard takes a deliberate step backward. Eric's handshake becomes enthusiastic. Mr. Whitaker, we weren't expecting you for another. He checks his watch. 15 minutes. I apologize for any confusion. He shoots Lauren a look that could melt steel. Lauren, why wasn't Mr. Whitaker shown to the executive suite immediately? Before she can stammer through an excuse, I interrupt. Perhaps we should discuss that after our meeting. My voice is calm, but my message is clear. This isn't over. Eric nods quickly. Of course, of course. Please, follow me to the boardroom. Everyone's eager to meet you. As we walk toward the elevator, I glance back at Lauren. She sits rigid at her desk, hands trembling slightly as she picks up her phone. No doubt calling her supervisor, desperately trying to explain her colossal error. The Westbridge boardroom sparkles with wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcase San Francisco's skyline. At the table sits Nina Patel, my chief operating officer. She raises an eyebrow as I enter. You're late. She mounts silently, then notices my expression. Everything okay? I give a subtle head shake. We'll discuss it later. Nina had warned me about Westbridge. 3 days ago, in my office overlooking the bay, she'd placed a folder on my desk. What's this? I'd asked. Employee reviews of Westbridge. Anonymous posts from current and former staff. She'd tapped the folder. You should read these before signing anything. I'd flipped through pages of complaints. Hostile environment for minorities. Old boys club mentality. Reception staff treat vendors like intruders. We're investing $40 million, Nina had reminded me. We should know what we're buying into. She was right. That's why I'd arrived early today, entering through the front door like any visitor. I wanted to see the unfiltered Westbridge experience, and I'd gotten exactly that. As Eric introduces me to his board members. I shake hands and exchange pleasantries. They've prepared elaborate presentations, market analyses, growth projections. But my mind keeps returning to that lobby scene. Before we begin, I say once everyone is seated, I'd like to discuss something that happened downstairs. Eric shifts, uncomfortably. Mr. Whitaker, I assure you, your receptionist refused to believe I was CEO of Innovate Capital. She assumed I was delivery staff and called security to remove me from the building. The room falls silent. Board members exchange alarmed glances. That's completely unacceptable, Eric stammers. She'll be disciplined immediately. This isn't about one employee, I reply. It's about culture, about who feels welcome in your spaces and who doesn't. An older board member leans forward. Mr. Whitaker, please don't judge our entire organization based on one receptionist's poor judgment. I meet his gaze steadily. Would you have been treated that way if you walked into your own lobby? He has no answer. Let me tell you about Lauren Stokes. 29 years old, 2 years at Westbridge. Before the confrontation in the lobby, she'd started her morning like any other. She arrived at 8:15, arranging fresh flowers at the reception desk. Her supervisor had reminded her yesterday about the important investors coming today. These people are vital to our future, he'd emphasized. Roll out the red carpet. Lauren nodded, already imagining who would arrive. In her mind, CEOs looked a certain way, older white men in expensive suits, flanked by assistants, radiating authority. This wasn't her first incident. 6 months ago, a black woman in a simple business suit approached her desk, asking for directions to the marketing department. Without checking her ID, Lauren directed her to the service elevator. That woman turned out to be the new marketing director. Lauren received a warning then. Her supervisor pulled her aside, saying, "You need to be more careful about assumptions." But nothing more came of it. No training, no consequences. The culture permitted these mistakes as long as they didn't cause too much trouble. When I walked in alone this morning, Lauren saw what she expected to see. Someone who didn't belong in her lobby. While Eric launches into his presentation about Westbridge's market position, I text Nina under the table, lobby incident. Receptionist tried to throw me out. She responds immediately, exactly what I was worried about. What do you want to do? Good question. The acquisition makes perfect business sense. Westbridge has innovative technology that complements our portfolio. Their client list would accelerate our growth by years. On paper, this partnership is ideal, but I didn't build Innovate Capital just to make money. Our mission statement includes creating workplaces where talent thrives regardless of background. How can I invest $40 million in a company where people like me aren't even recognized as executives? Eric clicks to a slide showing projected revenue after our investment. With Innovate Capital's backing, we'll expand into Asian markets by Q3, potentially doubling our valuation within 18 months. The numbers are impressive. The board members nod along, occasionally glancing at me nervously, wondering if I'm still considering the deal. And our teams are aligned culturally. Eric continues, without a trace of irony. Westbridge values innovation, excellence, and inclusion. I raise an eyebrow at that last word. Inclusion? Interesting choice. Eric falters. We're committed to diversity and inclusion, of course. How many people of color sit on your executive team? I ask. The room grows uncomfortable. Eric glances at his board. All white, mostly male. We're working on improving those numbers, he admits. How exactly? What specific programs have you implemented? Eric looks to his HR director, who clears her throat. We've recently formed a diversity committee. When? Last month. I nod slowly. So after we expressed interest in acquiring you, the truth hangs in the air. They scrambled to create the appearance of inclusion when Innovate Capital, known for our commitment to diversity, came knocking. Meanwhile, downstairs, their receptionist is still trying to save her job. Let me explain what's really at stake. Here, for Westbridge, this acquisition means survival. Their last product launch underperformed. Their cash reserves are dwindling. Without this $40 million infusion, they'll need to lay off 30% of their staff by year's end. For me and Innovate Capital, Westbridge offers valuable technology and market position. But we have options. 3 other companies with similar offerings are courting our investment. The power dynamic is clear. They need us more than we need them. And that gives me leverage to demand real change. Nina catches my eye across the table. She's thinking what I'm thinking. This moment, this uncomfortable, revealing moment, might be exactly what Westbridge needs. A wake-up call that forces genuine transformation. Eric continues his pitch, unaware that his company's future hinges not on financial projections or market analyses, but on how they respond to what happened in that lobby and on whether I believe they're capable of change. The presentation ends. Eric looks at me expectantly. So, Mr. Whitaker, shall we proceed to the terms? I close my portfolio and lean back in my chair. Before we discuss terms, I'd like to talk about something more fundamental. I pause, making eye contact with each person around the table. Let's talk about what kind of company Westbridge really is and what kind of company it could become. Let's rewind to that pivotal moment in the lobby, the exact instant when everything changed. 9:32 a.m. Eric Langston stands frozen, processing what I've just told him. You're Marcus Whitaker? Of Innovate Capital. The color drains from Lauren's face. Her posture crumples as realization hits. The security guard takes another step back, mumbling what sounds like an apology. Yes, I confirm, my voice level. I believe we have a 9:30 meeting scheduled to discuss the acquisition. Lauren's hand flies to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispers, barely audible. Eric recovers quickly, shifting into damage control. Mr. Whitaker, please accept my deepest apologies for this misunderstanding. I assure you this is not how we conduct business at Westbridge. Isn't it, though? I ask quietly. 9:33 a.m. The lobby has gone completely silent. The employees who were watching now stand motionless, witnessing a car crash in slow motion. One woman clutches her coffee cup so tightly I think it might shatter. Lauren attempts to speak, her voice breaking. Mr. Whitaker, I am so sorry. I didn't realize. I hold up my hand, stopping her mid-sentence. That's precisely the problem, isn't it? You didn't bother to check. You saw a black man enter your lobby and immediately decided I didn't belong. Here. Eric steps between us, physically trying to shield Lauren from my gaze. Mr. Whitaker, I promise you this incident will be addressed. Lauren's behavior is completely unacceptable. Does she typically treat visitors this way? I ask. Eric hesitates a beat too long. That tells me everything. 9:35 a.m. The elevator doors open again. Nina steps out, her eyes scanning the lobby until she spots me. She walks briskly toward our group, her heels striking the marble with authority. Marcus, she calls. Is everything all right? The board is waiting upstairs. Lauren's eyes widen further as she watches Nina, clearly an executive, address me by my first name. The final confirmation that she's made a catastrophic error. Nina, I nod. We had a slight situation. Miss Stokes here was explaining to me that I didn't have an appointment and needed to leave the building. Nina's expression hardens as she turns to Lauren. Excuse me. 9:36 a.m. The physical space of the lobby has transformed. What moments ago felt like Lauren's domain now feels like mine. She shrinks behind her desk while Eric stands awkwardly between worlds. His employee and his potential investor. Two other executives have now appeared from the stairwell, drawn by the commotion. They whisper to each other, eyes darting between me and Lauren. Mr. Whitaker, please. Eric gestures toward the elevator. The board is waiting. We can sort this out after our meeting. I remain perfectly still. Actually, I think we need to address this now. 9:37 a.m. I turn to face Lauren directly. Her makeup is smudged where she's wiped it, tears threatening to fall. Miss Stokes, I'd like to understand something. When I told you I had a meeting with Mr. Langston, why didn't you simply check your system? Lauren swallows hard. I did. Check, sir. But the appointment was listed under Innovate Capital, not your name specifically. And you assumed the CEO of Innovate Capital couldn't possibly be me. She has no answer. Let me ask you something else. If I were white, would you have made the same assumption? The question lands like a thunderclap. Eric flinches. Nina nods slightly in approval. 9:38 a.m. Lauren begins to cry in earnest now. Please, I didn't mean to. I would never. You would never what? Discriminate? But you did, Miss Stokes. Without hesitation. Eric attempts intervention again. Mr. Whitaker, I understand you're upset. Lauren's behavior was inexcusable. She'll be dealt with appropriately, I promise you. Dealt with how? I press. A stern talking to? A note in her file? Because I suspect this isn't the first time something like this has happened. The security guard shifts uncomfortably. His eyes meet mine briefly, then look away. Confirmation in itself. 9:40 a.m. Nina steps closer to me. speaking quietly. Marcus, the board is getting restless upstairs. Should I tell them there's a delay? I consider for a moment. No. Let's go up. But this discussion isn't over. As Nina and I turn toward the elevator, Eric follows, relief washing over his face. He thinks the crisis has been averted, that he's wrong. Lauren calls out desperately. Mr. Whitaker, please. I stop, but don't turn around. Miss Stokes, I suggest you use this time to clean out your desk. 9:42 a.m. The elevator doors close on Lauren's shocked face. Inside, it's just the three of us. Me, Nina, and a visibly sweating Eric. You're going to fire her? Eric asks, attempting to sound authoritative but failing. Aren't you? I counter. Nina interjects. A company is defined by what it tolerates, Mr. Langston. The elevator climbs silently for 3 floors. Eric stares at the numbers lighting up, likely calculating how much money hangs in the balance against one receptionist's career. 9:45 a.m. We enter the boardroom. 8 people rise to their feet. They've been waiting, presentations prepared, anticipation high. Their eyes track Eric's uncomfortable expression, Nina's composed professionalism, and my unreadable face. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric announces with forced cheer, I'm pleased to introduce Marcus Whitaker, CEO of Innovate Capital. Handshakes, smiles, small talk. None of them know what just happened downstairs. 9:50 a.m. As we take our seats, I notice the place card at the head of the table, reserved for me. The implied deference, the carefully arranged portfolio folders, the refreshments selected to impress. All this preparation. Yet their frontline staff couldn't recognize me as someone who belonged here. Eric launches into introductions, each board member nodding respectfully in my direction. I let him proceed, studying their faces. Do they know about their company's culture problem? Are they complicit or merely oblivious? 10:05 a.m. The CFO begins her presentation on financial projections. Slides filled with upward trending graphs. Optimistic numbers. A narrative of growth and success if only they had Innovate Capital's investment. That I interrupt 15 minutes in. I apologize for cutting you short, I say. But before we go further, I need to address something that happened. When I arrived today, the room tenses. Eric's knuckles whiten around his pen. That I recount the lobby incident in precise detail. No embellishment needed. The facts are damning enough. As I speak, expressions change. Shock, embarrassment, concern. One woman, the chief marketing officer, looks genuinely horrified. This is how visitors are greeted at Westbridge? She asks, turning to Eric. It was an unfortunate misunderstanding. Eric begins. It wasn't a misunderstanding. I correct him. Your receptionist saw a black man in a suit and decided he couldn't possibly be an executive. That's not a misunderstanding. That's bias. 10:15 a.m. Nina opens her laptop and turns it toward the board. While Marcus was dealing with your reception staff, I took the liberty of compiling these. On screen appeared dozens of employee reviews, the same ones she showed me earlier. These are current and former Westbridge employees describing their experiences, Nina explains. Pattern of discriminatory behavior, toxic culture for minorities, advancement opportunities reserved for those who fit the mold. Board members shift uncomfortably. Some appear genuinely surprised. Others avoid eye contact. They've heard these complaints before. 10:20 a.m. The chief marketing officer speaks up. Mr. Whitaker, on behalf of Westbridge, I want to personally apologize. This is deeply troubling and completely unaligned with our stated values. Stated values mean nothing if they're not lived values, I reply. Eric attempts to regain control. I assure you, we take this extremely seriously. Lauren will be terminated immediately, and we'll implement sensitivity training for all staff. That's a start, I acknowledge. But I'm not convinced it's enough. 10:25 a.m. The tension in the room is electric. $40 million, the company's future, hangs in the balance. They know it. I know it. Here's my position, I say, closing my portfolio. I don't invest in companies that don't align with my values. Innovate Capital stands for more than profit. We transform companies from the inside out. A board member leans forward. What exactly are you saying, Mr. Whitaker? I'm saying I haven't decided whether this deal will proceed. The words land like a bomb. Someone gasps. Eric looks physically ill. 10:30 a.m. My phone buzzes with a text from my assistant downstairs. Lauren is packing her things. Security is escorting her out. That was fast, but expected. Lauren was always going to be the sacrificial lamb, the easiest person to blame rather than examining the deeper culture that enabled her behavior. I show the text to Nina, who raises an eyebrow. She knows what I'm thinking. Firing one receptionist doesn't solve the underlying problem. 10:35 a.m. I need some air, I announce, standing. Nina will continue the discussion. I'll return shortly. As I walk out, I hear urgent whispers behind me. The board is panicking. Good that I in the hallway. I watch employees move through their day, unaware that their company's future is balanced on a knife's edge. How many of them have experienced what I just did? How many stayed silent because they needed their jobs? The question now, do I walk away from this deal entirely? Or do I use this moment, this leverage, to force real change? At Westbridge, the decision I make in the next 5 minutes will alter the trajectory of 2 companies and hundreds of careers, including Lauren's, whose life has already been upended, including Eric's, who must now prove he deserves to keep leading this company, and including mine. Testing whether I truly live by the principles I espouse. That I take a deep breath and head for the stairwell. Needing to see one more thing before I make my final choice. I take the stairs down to the lobby, needing to witness the aftermath of my decision. As I push through the stairwell door, I see Lauren's desk is empty. A different woman sits there, now, looking nervous as she answers phones. Security personnel stand near the entrance, speaking in hushed tones. They straighten when they notice me. Word travels fast. Mr. Whitaker. One of them nods respectfully. The same guard who nearly escorted me out 30 minutes ago. Did I approach Lauren's replacement? Excuse me, I'm looking for Mr. Langston's office. Of course, sir. She jumps to attention. Should I call up for you? No need. Just directions, please. She points me toward the executive elevator. 15th floor, first door on the right. Amazing how quickly respect appears when people know who you are. I find Eric in his office, phone pressed to his ear. He jumps when I enter. I'll call you back, he tells whoever is on the line, hanging up hastily. Mr. Whitaker, I was just about to return to the boardroom. I wanted to speak with you privately first, I say, closing the door behind me. Eric gestures to a chair. Please sit. Can I offer you anything? Coffee, water, answers would be preferable. He nods, swallowing hard. Of course, I want to assure you again how deeply sorry I am about what happened. Lauren has been terminated, effective immediately. That was quick. We take this extremely seriously. Do you? I settle into the chair across from him. Tell me, Eric, how many other complaints about Lauren have you received? His hesitation tells me everything. There have been a few incidents. And your response was? We issued warnings, documented the concerns, but you kept her as the face of your company. The first-person visitors encounter. Eric's shoulders slump slightly. In retrospect, that was a mistake. It's not about Lauren, I say. It's about a culture that allowed her behavior to continue. That's what concerns me as a potential investor. Eric leans forward, desperation edging into his voice. Mr. Whitaker, Westbridge needs this deal. We're committed to making any changes necessary. Power has shifted completely. Just an hour ago, I was the one being dismissed. Now, the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company is practically begging me not to walk away. I believe you're committed now, I reply. The question is whether you'd remain committed after the papers are signed and the money's in your account. 11:15 a.m. Back in the boardroom, tension hangs thick in the air. Board members stop mid-conversation as I enter, followed by a subdued Eric. Nina gives me a questioning look. I nod slightly. I've made my decision. I take my seat at the head of the table. No one speaks as I organize my thoughts. I've given this situation considerable thought. I begin. What happened today isn't just about one receptionist's poor judgment. It's about institutional culture. The board members exchange nervous glances. However, I continue. I still believe in Westbridge's potential. Your technology is impressive. Your market position is strong. With proper leadership and cultural reform, this company could thrive. Relief washes over several faces. They think I'm staying. They're right, but not on their terms. I'm prepared to move forward with our investment, I announce, with conditions. Eric nods eagerly. Of course, whatever you need. I turn to Nina, who slides a document across the table. This is an amended agreement, I explain. In addition to the financial terms we've already discussed, it includes several non-negotiable conditions regarding company culture and diversity initiatives. The CFO reaches for it first, scanning the pages with widening eyes. These are substantial changes. They're necessary ones, I counter. Let me outline them for everyone. I stand, commanding the room's full attention. First, Innovate Capital. We'll appoint 3 new members to Westbridge's board, ensuring diverse perspectives at the highest level of decision-making. A murmur ripples through the room. This would fundamentally alter the board's composition. Second, Westbridge will implement comprehensive bias training for all employees, from reception to C-suite, with quarterly assessments and accountability measures. The HR director nods, scribbling notes. Third, you'll establish a diversity and inclusion department with actual authority and budget, not a performative committee that meets once a month for coffee. More uncomfortable shifting. Fourth, compensation reviews for all employees to identify and correct any pay disparities based on race or gender. The CFO winces at this one, likely already aware of problems they've ignored. Fifth, transparent. Hiring and promotion practices with clear metrics for success, removing subjective criteria that enable bias. I pause, letting each point sink in. And finally, Westbridge will fund a $2 million scholarship program for underrepresented students pursuing careers in tech, creating a pipeline of diverse talent for the future. Complete silence follows. These aren't minor concessions. They're fundamental changes to how Westbridge operates. The choice is simple, I conclude. Accept these terms and receive our $40 million investment, or decline and we walk away. 11:30 a.m. The board erupts into hushed discussions. Some look resistant, others thoughtful. Eric huddles with the CFO and legal counsel in the corner. Nina leans toward me. Bold move. Think they'll agree. They don't have a choice. I reply quietly. Their Q4 report shows they're burning through cash. Without our investment, layoffs begin next month. After 10 minutes of deliberation, Eric approaches me. Could we discuss a compromise on some of these points? They're non-negotiable, I state firmly. But consider this. I'm not asking you to do anything Innovate Capital hasn't already implemented successfully. These changes won't hurt your bottom line. They'll improve it. The chief marketing officer speaks up. He's right. Diverse companies consistently outperform homogeneous ones. This could be exactly what Westbridge needs. Slowly, the mood shifts. What began as resistance transforms into reluctant acceptance, then cautious optimism as board members consider the possibilities beyond mere compliance. We'll need time to implement all this, Eric says. You'll have it, I reply. But we'll be monitoring progress closely. Quarterly reviews, transparent reporting. And if commitments aren't met, funding gets delayed. 11:45 a.m. The board votes unanimously to accept my terms. Just like that, the deal is back on, but completely transformed. Hands are shaken. Documents are signed. What started as a simple acquisition has become a catalyst for institutional change. Meanwhile, 3 floors below, Lauren Stokes clears out her desk under security supervision. Her hands shake as she places personal items into a cardboard box. Framed photos, potted succulents, a coffee mug with her initials. Tears stream down her face. Her career at Westbridge is over, destroyed in 5 minutes of poor judgment. Co-workers avoid eye contact as she's escorted toward the exit, the same door she tried to force me through earlier this morning. I need to speak with Mr. Whitaker, she tells the security guard, mascara streaking her cheeks. Please, I need to apologize properly. That's not possible right now. He replies gently as Lauren pushes through the revolving door one final time. She passes a group of employees returning from coffee. They whisper as she walks by, the story already spreading through the company. That's the receptionist who tried to throw out the CO, who's saving our jobs. I heard she called security on him. No way she didn't know who he was. I always thought. She was kind of judgmental. The narrative is forming in real time, with Lauren cast as the villain and me as the wronged hero. The truth is more complex, of course. Lauren becomes the scapegoat while deeper cultural problems remain embedded in Westbridge's DNA. Those will take time and effort to address. Effort, I'm now contractually empowered to demand 12:30 p.m. As the meeting concludes, I stand on Westbridge's balcony overlooking San Francisco. Nina joins me, coffee in hand. Quite a morning, she observes. You turned a moment of discrimination into a complete corporate overhaul. It shouldn't take a CEO being mistreated to create change, I reply. Think about how many others walked through those doors and were dismissed because they couldn't leverage a multi-million-dollar deal. Nina nods thoughtfully. Will you reach out to Lauren? I consider this. Eventually. Not today. She needs to sit with the consequences first. Some might say you were harsh. Some might say she got exactly what she deserved. The power to destroy careers comes with serious responsibility. I didn't walk into Westbridge this morning intending to get anyone fired. But I also can't pretend Lauren's behavior was a simple mistake. It reflected deeper issues that will now be addressed because I had the leverage to demand it. When you experience discrimination, you face a choice: remain silent or speak up. Silence protects the status quo. Speaking up risks backlash. But when you have power, real, consequential power, you gain a third option: create change. That I could have walked away from Westbridge, taking my investment elsewhere. That would have punished the company but changed nothing. Instead, I chose to use my position to demand transformation, not just for myself, but for everyone who would walk through those doors in the future. Power, when wielded responsibly, becomes a tool for justice. The tables turned not because I sought revenge, but because I recognized an opportunity to create something better from something broken. Lauren lost her job today. That's a consequence of her actions. But Westbridge gained a chance to become the company it claims to be. That's the promise of accountability. As I prepare to leave for the day, Eric walks me to the elevator. He seems different now, humbled, perhaps, or simply calculating his next move under new constraints. I want to thank you, he says unexpectedly, for not walking away. Don't thank me yet, I reply. The hard work is just beginning. The elevator doors open. Inside stands the security guard from this morning. He nods respectfully. Mr. Whitaker, he acknowledges. Same guard, different tone. I observe as the doors closed. That's how change begins. Not with grand pronouncements, but with shifts in how people speak to one another. How they recognize, or fail to recognize, each other's humanity. Today, I was seen. Tomorrow, because of what happened today, others will be seen too. The power has shifted. The tables have turned. And Westbridge will never be the same. 3 months after that fateful morning in Westbridge's lobby, I return for our quarterly review. The changes are immediately apparent. The reception desk, once Lauren's domain, is now staffed by a diverse team. The lead receptionist, a young black woman named Jasmine, greets me with professional warmth. Good morning, Mr. Whitaker. The board is expecting you on 15. As I cross the lobby, I notice new artwork adorning the walls, pieces from local artists of color. A digital display showcases employee spotlights representing various backgrounds. Small changes, perhaps, but visible ones. In the elevator, I reflect on what my confrontation set in motion. The immediate aftermath was swift and comprehensive. Lauren's termination was just the beginning. Within 48 hours, Westbridge issued a company-wide memo acknowledging the incident without naming me directly. By week's end, Eric had assembled a task force to implement our mandated changes. The first round of bias training began 2 weeks later. Not the perfunctory hour-long video most companies use to check a box, but comprehensive sessions led by respected diversity consultants. Employees were divided into small groups, ensuring executives sat alongside entry-level staff. No hierarchical exemptions. Many participants were initially defensive. We're not racist, they insisted. It was just one receptionist's mistake. The consultants pushed back gently but firmly. Systems enable individual actions, they explained. Let's examine the system. Throughout those first sessions, stories emerged. A black software engineer described being repeatedly mistaken for IT support. A Latina executive assistant recounted being addressed in Spanish by visitors despite speaking perfect English. An Asian American manager shared how colleagues expressed surprise at his fluent, unaccented English, despite his being born in California. Lauren's action toward me hadn't occurred in isolation. It reflected patterns normalized within Westbridge's culture. patterns now being exposed and addressed. The first time I was mistaken for someone's driver, I was 26 years old, already managing a team of engineers. I had just purchased my first luxury car, a symbol of success I'd earned through countless hours of work. I pulled up to a client meeting, and the CEO approached my window, asking me to park around back. He was embarrassed when I stepped out in my suit and introduced myself as the project lead. That I share this not to evoke pity, but to illuminate reality. These moments accumulate across a career, across a life. Each one presents a choice: laugh it off, confront it, or transform it into change. At Westbridge, I chose transformation. 6 months after our agreement, the changes deepened. Westbridge hired their first chief diversity officer, a former civil rights attorney with experience transforming corporate cultures. They revised hiring practices, implementing blind resume reviews and diverse interview panels. Employee resource groups formed, creating community for underrepresented staff. The $2 million scholarship program launched with fanfare, supporting 20 students its first year. Photos of the recipients hung prominently in the lobby, a daily reminder of the company's new commitment. More subtle shifts emerged in day-to-day operations. Meeting facilitators became conscious of who spoke and who was interrupted. Promotion criteria became transparent, reducing opportunities for bias to influence decisions. Pay equity reviews revealed and corrected significant disparities. The board transformation proved most challenging. Old power rarely relinquishes control willingly, but our agreement was binding. 3 new directors joined: a renowned Black tech entrepreneur, a Latina venture capitalist, and an Asian American sustainability expert. Their perspectives fundamentally altered boardroom conversations. Not everyone embraced these changes. 2 longtime executives resigned rather than adapt. Several employees departed, uncomfortable with the new emphasis on equity. But for each departure, multiple new hires arrived, drawn by Westbridge's evolving reputation as a leader in workplace inclusion. Eric Langston underwent perhaps the most remarkable transformation. Our first few meetings after the incident were tense. He viewed me as an enforcer rather than a partner. But gradually, something shifted. I noticed it during our 3rd quarterly review. Instead of defensively presenting progress metrics, Eric spoke candidly about his personal journey. I always considered myself progressive, he admitted to the board. But this experience forced me to confront my blind spots. I never noticed how homogeneous our leadership was because it looked normal to me. I never questioned Lauren's behavior because I wasn't on the receiving end of it. He paused, looking directly at me. Mr. Whitaker taught me that leadership isn't just about growth targets and market share. It's about creating environments where everyone can contribute fully, without barriers created by bias. Eric became an unexpected ally, extending our initiatives beyond the requirements of our agreement. He spoke at industry conferences about Westbridge's transformation, positioning the company as a case study in corporate evolution. When asked about the catalyst for these changes, he was refreshingly honest. It took someone with power holding us accountable. We should have done this work without that push, but we didn't. That's a hard truth we've had to accept. And what of Lauren Stokes, the receptionist whose actions sparked this chain of events? After her termination, Lauren struggled to find equivalent employment. The story had spread through professional networks. Companies hesitated to hire someone with her history. 6 weeks after leaving Westbridge, she emailed me requesting a meeting. My initial instinct was to decline. What could such a conversation accomplish? But upon reflection, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe far from both our offices. Lauren arrived early, visibly nervous. The confident receptionist who had tried to remove me from the lobby was gone, replaced by someone humbled by consequence. "Thank you for meeting me," she began. "I've wanted to apologize properly since that day." "I'm listening," I replied. "What I did was inexcusable," she said, voice steady despite her obvious discomfort. "I judged you based solely on appearance, and I was completely wrong. I've spent weeks examining why I made those assumptions and how often I've done it before." She explained her subsequent journey, reading books on bias, attending community workshops, confronting her own prejudices. She'd secured a position at a small nonprofit, deliberately choosing a diverse organization where she could learn and grow. "I don't expect forgiveness," she concluded, "but I wanted you to know your actions changed more than just Westbridge." They changed me. I appreciated her honesty. Growth often begins with discomfort, I told her. What matters is what you build from here. We parted with a handshake, not friends, but two people acknowledging each other's humanity. 1 year after walking into Westbridge's lobby, I stood on stage at their annual company meeting, addressing all 250 employees. The room looked markedly different from the homogeneous group I'd first encountered. New faces, new voices, new perspectives enriched the company at every level. Transformation doesn't happen through grand gestures, I told them. It happens through consistent actions, through thousands of daily choices to see each other fully. What began as a painful confrontation has become something powerful, proof that accountability can lead to genuine change. This is how progress occurs, not through performative statements or diversity reports filed away in HR folders, but through moments of truth that force us to examine who we are and who we want to become. It happens when those with power use it to create space for others, when consequences lead to reflection rather than resentment. Westbridge isn't perfect. No company is. But they're actively building something better than what existed before, all because one receptionist misjudged a visitor, and that visitor had the position to demand change. Let this be a reminder that how we treat people matters. Share this video if you believe in accountability and creating workplaces where everyone is respected regardless of appearance. 2 years after the lobby confrontation, Westbridge's transformation reverberates beyond its walls. Their diversity initiatives have become a case study at business schools. 5 other tech companies have adopted similar frameworks, creating a wave of change across Silicon Valley. The scholarship program has expanded to support 50 students annually. 3 recipients now work at Westbridge, bringing fresh perspectives to product development. One designed an accessibility feature that opened markets previously untapped. My confrontation with Lauren sparked conversations in boardrooms nationwide about who belongs in spaces of power. At industry conferences, executives approach me with their own stories of being misjudged, finally feeling empowered to speak up. The morning I walked into that lobby, I had no intention of becoming a catalyst for change. I simply wanted respect, the same respect automatically granted to others. In demanding it, I created space for countless others to be seen and valued. 1 moment of accountability triggered a cascade of transformation. That's the true power of confronting injustice from a position of strength, not revenge, but reformation. When we hold systems accountable, we don't just change policies. We change lives.